The construction site was alive with commotion. Metal striking metal, cement churning, voices reverberating off structures still taking shape. Within this disorder, one man remained distinct, wearing a flawless navy suit, his shined shoes strikingly misplaced among the dusty terrain. His name was Richard Halden, a millionaire property magnate recognized throughout the city for transforming empty parcels into glass skyscrapers that touched the heavens. Yet on that particular day, as the sun blazed down upon concrete and iron, Richard's assured gait wavered. His keen eyes locked onto something, or more accurately, someone, that caused his surroundings to become hazy and disappear. There, crouching on the earth, blanketed in grime, attempting to raise a cement sack that seemed too heavy for her slight frame, was a young woman. Her flowing ebony hair had slipped free from its bun, and perspiration trickled down her temple. Yet it wasn't her exertion that stopped Richard in his tracks. It was her features. For a brief, unbelievable instant, he believed he was looking at her, the daughter he had mourned 7 years earlier in an automobile accident that had destroyed his existence. If you hold faith in compassion, second opportunities, and the understated miracles that continue to exist in our world, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Black Kindness, for occasionally narratives like these show us that affection never genuinely departs. Richard's chest constricted as he observed the laborer fighting to stabilize her burden. Each motion, each look, it reflected his daughter. The identical resolute expression, the identical tiny scar beside her brow. He forced his eyes shut, attempting to calm his breathing. She couldn't possibly be her. He had interred that piece of his soul years prior beneath accumulations of career and fortune. Still, something profound within him suggested a different truth. As the supervisor shouted commands, the young woman, her identification badge displayed Mira, lifted herself upward with shaking limbs. Her protective vest bore a rip along its edge, her work gloves were deteriorated, yet she persevered. Richard experienced a wave of remorse that someone so youthful was forced to bear such difficulty. His own daughter had been raised in affluence, protected from struggle, her joy resonating throughout marble corridors. He recalled her pursuing him through their rose garden, her tiny palms smeared with paint as she presented him with her artistic creations. The pain in his chest resurfaced like an ancient injury tearing open. Throughout the subsequent days, Richard found himself unable to stop dwelling on Mira. He discovered himself appearing at the construction location more regularly under the guise of examining advancement. He observed her laboring without rest, transporting bricks, blending concrete, assisting colleagues with understated resolve. There existed something about her that captivated him. Not merely the physical similarity, but the fortitude within her quietness. She never voiced complaints, never paused longer than necessary. And whenever someone mishandled their equipment or scattered materials, she was the quickest to assist, grinning gently as though existence hadn't treated her cruelly. One afternoon, an unexpected tempest swept across the metropolis. Most laborers fled for protection, yet Mira remained, attempting to shield the inventory from being damaged. Richard, observing from his vehicle, experienced an unusual alarm. He hurried toward her through the downpour, his footwear submerging into the sodden earth. When he arrived beside her, she was thoroughly drenched, her hair adhered to her face, wrestling to pull a covering over the machinery. Instinctively, he seized one corner and assisted her in fastening it. When their gazes connected, the universe appeared to freeze once more. He perceived it unmistakably this time, the identical ocean blue irises his daughter once possessed, the identical glimmer of silent bravery. Richard felt moisture from his eyes blend with the rainfall as recollections surged forward. Following the tempest's conclusion, he tracked her to the modest shelter where the laborers recuperated. He witnessed her extract a wrinkled photograph from her pocket, study it intently, and return it carefully to her belongings. Inquisitiveness overwhelmed him. That evening, he couldn't find rest. He instructed his aide to uncover everything regarding Mira. What he learned the subsequent morning disturbed him even further. Mira was 23, precisely the age his daughter would have reached. She had matured in a foster facility after being discovered roaming near a wrecked automobile in the mountain range when she was 16. She retained no recollection of her history. No identified family members, no documentation preceding that collision. Richard's extremities shook as he absorbed those statements. Was it possible? Could destiny truly be this merciless or this merciful? The following day, he summoned her to his office at the location. She stepped inside tentatively, her garments clean yet unpretentious, her demeanor guarded. Richard could scarcely locate his speech. He questioned her about the collision, about her existence before it, yet she indicated negation. She retained nothing beyond awakening in a medical facility, frightened and isolated. As she articulated this, moisture gathered in her eyes, and Richard's heart fractured anew. He desired to extend his hand, to reveal the reality that was crying out within him, yet apprehension restrained him. What if his assumption was incorrect? What if his yearning was merely sorrow masquerading as conviction? Days transformed into weeks, and he discreetly organized a genetic examination, unable to suppress the probability. The findings arrived on an overcast morning that seemed weighted with expectancy. His extremities quivered as he unsealed the correspondence. His pulse faltered when he witnessed the phrase, 99.9% match. Mira was his daughter, living. Richard collapsed emotionally for the first occasion in years. Every barrier he had constructed around his heart disintegrated. He raced to the location, seeking her out. When he ultimately located Mira, she was transporting a serving platter of tea for the laborers. Observing his moisture-filled eyes, she grew alarmed, presuming she had committed some error. Yet then he murmured the reality, his voice wavering. He revealed to her who she was, displayed the evidence, the photographs, the recollections. Mira became immobile, incredulity washing over her features. And then, as the understanding penetrated, moisture cascaded down her face. She collapsed into his embrace, weeping without restraint. And for the first occasion in years, Richard cradled his daughter, the one he believed he had surrendered eternally. The reconciliation was subdued yet profound. The laborers in proximity observed in stillness, unaware of the complete narrative, yet detecting something hallowed had transpired. Mira couldn't retrieve her history, yet she could sense the affection in her father's hold. An affection she had been pursuing her complete existence. With time's passage, she relocated into his residence, and together they commenced reconstructing not merely their recollections, but their connection. Richard liquidated one of his most substantial ventures shortly thereafter, utilizing the capital to create a foundation for parentless children. He christened it the Allah Hope Fund, not solely to commemorate the daughter he mourned, but the wonder he rediscovered. Mira, now beside him, contributed to its operation, guaranteeing that no child would ever need to mature experiencing unwanted or abandoned. If this narrative resonated with your spirit, please don't neglect to like, share, and subscribe to Black Kindness, where chronicles of optimism, affection, and second opportunities remind us that wonders remain achievable. Before departing, inform us in the comments, what action would you take if someone you mourned suddenly reappeared in your existence?